It's 2005, and Madonna has one chance to keep her Queen of Pop crown. Her last album was a creative and commercial disappointment, so she needs to come back with something to stop the Britneys, Christinas and Beyoncés of this world from overtaking her. And my god, did she manage it with an Abba-powered song that brought disco's past into the pop present and made us all consider whether we could pull off a pink leotard. This is the story of the song that saved Madonna's career for the 2000s, Hung Up. Hello, by the way, I'm Samuel, and I'm a pop music historian telling the stories of the biggest and best songs of the 2000s. I'm also a Madonna superfan, so keep watching, this should be fun. In 2026, Madonna is set to launch Confessions 2, a 2 decades later sequel to her landmark album Confessions on a Dance Floor. Whether that album can do for Madonna's career what Confessions did in the 2000s remains to be seen. But if the story of Hung Up shows us anything, it's that nothing will stop Madonna doing everything in her power to get back on top. You can see why she'd be drawn back towards this material. In 2005, the Queen of Pop was coming off of her lowest selling album, a collaboration with underground electronica producer Merway that most found too weird. She followed it, however, with a hugely successful tour in which she revisited her greatest hits, proving that there was still a huge audience who loved Madonna if she could find the right songs. Compare this to 2026 and things are very different. She's just come off of her lowest selling album, a collaboration with underground electronica producer Merway that most found too weird. She followed it, however, with a hugely successful tour in which she revisited her greatest hits, proving that there was still a huge audience who loved Madonna if she could only find the right songs. It's completely different! Confessions on a Dance Floor is not only an incredible album in its own right, but a crucial moment in Madonna history. She was 47, an age where pretty much every major female artist had been put out to pasture. As such, its first single would be a make or break moment for Madonna. We were a long way away from 1989, when Madonna had teamed up with Prince for Love Song, a song whose mid-late gave us a curious phrase. Time certainly hadn't gone slowly in Madonna's career. By 2005, she had stoked religious controversy for her Like a Prayer video, rewritten the rules of rock concerts with her Blonde Ambition tour, broken the record for the most expensive music video, shocked and titillated the world with her sex book, won a Golden Globe for playing Eva Peron, won 5 Grammys including Best Pop Album, had 2 children, written a Bond theme, and reinvented herself as an R&B diva, latex-clad dominatrix, earth mother, cyber cowboy, children's author, and champagne Che Guevara. The last of these had proved disastrous. With American Life, she had hoped to expose the shallowness of the United States, and how vanity distracted people from the horrors of American foreign policy. But America wasn't in the mood for a lecture, particularly from a woman that many thought was a slut who might be the Antichrist. I personally think American Life is an incredible album, whose harsh electronics mask some of Madonna's most tender songwriting. But most Americans didn't bother to find out, and the album became her first ever to sell less than 1 million copies in the US. Though it went platinum in the UK and produced 3 top 3 singles, it still sold only a fifth of what her last 2 albums had. For a lesser pop star, this could have been the end. Madonna was facing off against an influx of pop stars literally half her age. Her 2 collaborations with Britney Spears were carefully calculated to show her superiority over this next generation, but that superiority would seem hollow if Madonna couldn't make her next album a hit. But like Robbie Williams said, she not only came back with a hit, but one of her best ever singles.
I've tried to be a mess.
American Life was a very angst-ridden writing process, Madonna told Attitude. I was very angry and upset about America going to war with Iraq. I felt very frustrated and I felt I didn't have a voice, and so I got it all out on my record. For her next album, she wanted 2 things: to have an easier time making the record and to dance. You could see this as her reaction against American Life, a record that literally ends with a song saying, "I don't want an easy ride," and whose chopped and screwed electronics make it one of her least groovy records. But dig deeper, and Confessions can be seen as her achieving what she seemed to be searching for on that previous album. American Life is an album about being weighed down by fame. Her rap listing her staff in the title track is easy to mock.
Got a lawyer and a manager, an agent and a chef.
But to me, it makes her life seem exhausting. I just think about having to deal with dozens of people waiting for your decision on everything, and I need to lie down. The album feels like a pop star subconsciously self-sabotaging their fame by being about as uncommercial as a major pop star is allowed to be. But with Confessions, she found a much more satisfying way to deal with the oppressive weight of fame. This album would be a back-to-basics move for Madonna, recorded almost entirely in producer Stuart Price's attic. The studio is a tiny room with a roof that comes down really low, Price told Rolling Stone. Most studios cost thousands of dollars a day. My apartment cost the price of a good cup of tea. My African neighbours used to come out and say, "Is that Madonna going into your apartment?" And I'd say, "No, it's just a friend." Confessions brought back the time when I was recording my first record, Madonna added. We worked in a very casual way in this apartment on the Lower East Side, with these street sounds coming in through the windows being recorded and not giving a shit. Taking things back to basics was very much on Madonna's mind. She had been working with Luc Besson, director of The Fifth Element as well as her Love Profusion video, on a musical about a senile woman on her deathbed, looking back at a life she may or may not have led. For the project, Madonna had written songs inspired by 8 decades of popular music, from swing music in the 20s to today. Hating the 300-page script that Besson had written, she scrapped the project except for one song that seemed promising, Hung Up. We finished the tour, and my record company was like, "You owe us an album." And I was like, "I don't have any more ideas, I'm tapped out." So I came over here to work experimentally. Because that song turned out so great, I said, "Okay, that's it. I'm making all dance music." A return to dance pop might seem like an obvious move, but there was some risk in embracing these sounds. American popular music was in one of its least pop moments ever in the mid-2000s. Post-Avril Lavigne, the female singers of the age were embracing rock. If even Hilary Duff is releasing songs written by members of Good Charlotte, pop is truly cooked. Even the girls not rocking out were following Beyoncé into hip-hop and R&B. Madonna's compatriot in this dance music project would be 28-year-old Stuart Price, who was also untested as a major hitmaker. The Paris-born, Reading-raised musician had come up in music during the French house boom, post-Daft Punk, playing up his French connection by releasing tracks as Les Rhythms Digital. These included 1997's Jacques Your Body Makes Me Sweat, and ahead of its time track that would only get its due on the chart in 2005 after it soundtracked an advert featuring a dancing car. In the early 2000s, he had done a series of remixes for the solo album of Merway, the producer of Madonna's music album, who eventually invited Price to come on her Drowned World tour as a keyboardist. Things were not working out with the tour's original musical director, so Price found himself taking on the job. He continued this role with her 2004 Reinvention tour, satisfying the hard-to-please singer with his new arrangements of her tracks. Afterwards, she said, "We've reworked so much old music together, why don't we rework something new? Let's start writing." The pair had previously written Ecstatic Process, one of the tender ballads at the heart of American life.
But in the process, I forgot.
But Madonna remained wary of his skills as a songwriter. "I wasn't 100% confident in your songwriting skills, if I may be so honest," she told The Guardian. "I didn't think you were ready." Nevertheless, she thought she may be able to do a few songs with him, so she asked if he had anything that sounded like Abba. Price remembered a night 6 months previously where he was falling asleep in a car in the early hours of the morning as Abba's
Give me all night after midnight.
played on the radio. Realising it would make a great sample for a song, he started playing a remix of it at clubs that filtered the song and sampled a ticking clock. Playing Madonna the song, Price said she started singing what would become the track's chorus. She wrote the rest of the lyrics in a car in 10 minutes. Madonna's feelings on Abba seem to have been mixed.
Abba.
Abba the group? Boring.
But during the sessions for her album Music, she had recorded a cover of their track Like an Angel Passing Through My Room. She knew their song would be a crucial addition to Hung Up, however, and so got to work at persuading them to let her use it.
Give me a
Sample.
after midnight.
"We get so many requests from people wanting to use our tracks, but we normally say no," said ABBA's Benny Andersson. The official ABBA line, pre-Hung Up, was that they had only ever allowed one act to sample their music, the Fugees, whose Rumble in the Jungle uses the name of the game.
With the law, mathematics was the key to set my whole race free.
This seems to conveniently forget the sample of Dancing Queen that US boy band 98 Degrees used in their track Fly With Me. Perhaps the fact that they let a trashy boy band use the sample undermined their point that they've been discerning about who uses their samples. Or perhaps, like the rest of the world, they just forgot about 98 Degrees. It also conveniently forgets all of the dodgy ABBA covers they have allowed over the years, from the tribute to the band at the Brits featuring Steps, Tina Cousins, Cleopatra, Bewitched and Billie Piper, to Pierce Brosnan's unique contribution to the art of singing in Mamma Mia.
Where are those happy days?
Either way, ABBA had only allowed a few artists to lift passages from their work, so even the Queen of Pop would have her work cut out getting them to say yes. I had to send my emissary to Stockholm with a letter and the record, begging them and imploring them and telling them how much I worshipped their music, telling them it was an homage to them, which is all true. And they had to think about it, Benny and Bjorn. They didn't say yes right away. Anderson told The Telegraph the decision was not financially motivated, but that they gave permission because we admire Madonna so much and always have done. She's got guts and has been around for 21 years. That is not bad going. In the same interview, he said the track was wonderful, 100% solid pop music. The financial situation, though, certainly helped. A song by one of the biggest recording artists in the world would certainly be a nice payday for someone facing a multi-million tax bill the following year. Whatever reason Bjorn and Benny had, they eventually said yes to the sample. Even without its Abba hook, the song is a propulsive piece of dance music, especially in its album version, which featured heavy use of a clock as percussion. Something that Price had previously done on his remix of Gwen Stefani's What You Waiting For. Abba were a perfect choice of sample for what Madonna was trying to do. That is, make something that would make the core gay fanbase ecstatic while not scaring off the general population. A track like Gimme 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 is about as gay as it comes. So much so that it gave one of Britain's first gay-themed sitcoms its name. But it is also a track that Middle America's mums, or should that be moms, loved. You can decide for yourself whether Hung Up would have worked without Gimme Gimme Gimme. In September 2005, a sampleless version of the track was used in an advert for the Motorola Roker phone. This advert was part of a huge rollout for the new Madonna track. With her new album, she was taking no chances and embarked on one of the biggest marketing rollouts a track has ever been given. Of course, this campaign would begin with a music video. For this, she teamed up with Johan Renck, who had previously helmed the surreal Japonica of Nothing Really Matters and put Kylie Minogue into Discotron mode for Love at First Sight. The video would be Madonna's first chance to introduce the central idea of the album, the bringing together of the past and the present of club culture. She struts down the streets of London in homage to John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever with hair in full Farrah Fawcett mode, but later plays Dance Dance Revolution and hangs out with a hot younger generation of dancers. It also featured Madonna in her vintage pink dancer's leotard, an item that she hoped would stand in for this era as wedding dresses did for Like a Virgin or comb bras did for the Blonde Ambition tour. That she was able to do the video at all was a minor miracle. The promo for Hung Up was filmed in October 2005, just 6 weeks after the singer had fallen off a horse at her Wiltshire estate, cracking 3 ribs and breaking a collarbone and a hand. Filming the video, she said none of the bones had properly mended, and she had to get through the shoot on pharmaceuticals and my will. I don't even know how I lifted my arm, Madonna wrote on Instagram. Notice it stays in the pocket of my jeans most of the video. Madonna had initially wanted photographer David LaChapelle for the video, who had shot her for Rolling Stone in 1998 and had filmed music videos for Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears and Gwen Stefani. The idea had been to turn Madonna into a Donna Summer-like disco diva. As she had already done that for the Deeper and Deeper music video and on the Girly Show tour, Madonna was not in love with the idea. The accident forced her to cancel her plans for the filming and gave her more time to think about what she wanted in the video. Not everyone was happy with it. Even with muscles like this, Madonna can't beat the hands of time, one Daily Mail headline read, but mostly the Hung Up video was hugely effective in establishing the vibe of the album, showcasing the track as dance floor ready and giving us an iconic Madonna outfit that drag queens through time could pull out of their closets to pay tribute to the Queen of Pop. But this would be just the beginning of the massive promotion for the track that was determined to get Madonna back on top of the pop world. Would be released on October the 17th, 2005, but this would not be the first time Madonna fans would be able to purchase part of the track. On September 19th, she became the first major pop artist to release a song as a ringtone before the physical release, releasing the track onto ringtone stores alongside 100 from her back catalogue. This was a genius move. Ringtones were a massive business by the mid-2000s, worth hundreds of millions of pounds. Which, by the way, if you want to know more about the weird world of the 2000s ringtone industry, I did a whole video about the Crazy Frog. You should check it out. Madonna was not only building anticipation, but getting people to pay for the privilege. And not only pay, but pay more than they would for the actual single. This was a success. The ringtone sold 500,000 copies in Japan alone. As fitting an album that was looking forward and backwards at the same time, the marketing campaign embraced technology while also keeping things on street level. Posters began appearing across major cities reading 1888 Confess, encouraging people to call the number and divulge their secrets, all in the name of promoting the idea of confessions. The marketing and messaging of American Life had been a mess, with 2003 seeing her jump from military chic to mum jeans to children's author florals. She wouldn't make the mistake again. All performances and appearances would see her in jewel-tone leotards and the bomber jacket her stylist had found for a few dollars in a Utah thrift store, starred with a new Farrah Fawcett haircut. Meanwhile, the song was everywhere. An interview introducing the track between her and Ryan Seacrest was sold to stations across the world. She performed intimate gigs at New York gay bars, building up buzz around just how well these new songs worked on the dance floor. She also appeared at London's Coco, where her first British gig had taken place 2 decades prior. The song even appeared in episodes of CSI. Meanwhile, she teamed up with brands like MTV, who offered an online preview of the album, as well as Orange and iTunes, with her music available on the Apple Store for the first time. The industry has changed. The There's a lot of competition and the market is glutted with new releases and new thises and that's. You must join forces with other brands and corporations. You're an idiot if you don't. She also made the most of the press around her accident, riding a horse through New York City for the David Letterman show. A hint at the equestrian theming of the early segment of her upcoming Confessions tour. All of this promotion paid off magnificently. The song made it to #1 in 41 countries, earning her a world record for topping the chart in the most countries. This of course included the UK, where the track sold 100,000 copies in its first week, nearly a quarter of all physical sales that week. Though the song only made the top 10 in the US, it did make Madonna the artist with the most top 10s in American chart history, a record only beaten 15 years later by Drake. The song was a hit, but it was only the beginning of Madonna's campaign to regain her spot at the top of the pop pantheon. While working on Hung Up, Madonna was still intending on recording the bulk of the album with Merways, her go-to producer for the last decade. But then they finished Hung Up, which she said resonated so monstrously, she began to think of cheating on her very cerebral, very existential producer with this 28-year-old upstart she could have fun with. You meet somebody, and you're already going out with someone else, so you say hi and you have this fantastic date with them, and when you go back to this other person you're with, all you can do is think about that other new person. I couldn't stop thinking about how fun it was to work with Stuart. It took me a minute to decide which boyfriend I wanted to have. It wouldn't be the first time the pop chameleon had kicked a producer to the curb after having her head turned by a new sound. Her frequent collaborator Pat Leonard found himself similarly demoted on the Ray of Light album after Madonna met William Orbit. Not that Merway held a grudge, he would become her main collaborator again for the Madam X album. Stuart Price called Hung Up the starting point for the album, a catalyst that set the dance pop direction the pair would be heading in. And within 3 months of them starting work on it, what would be called Confessions on a Dance Floor was done. Em had the vision straight away. She said, "We're doing a dance record. I don't want any ballads. I don't want any slow moments. I want this to sound like a slice of an evening, a night out." While co-producing the album, Madonna was also editing I'm Going to Tell You a Secret, her tour documentary. Unsurprisingly, watching hours of footage of her wandering through Israel and watching her husband be a bit of an arse to her, she needed some relief, and she seemed to find this in the sessions. It was the antidote for the stress of that film. I want to dance. I want to feel free, buoyant, happy, placated. The pair had a routine. Madonna would arrive at Price's flat every day at 3 p.m, climbing the stepladder into the very basic setup in his loft, where there was just a couch, a mixing desk, an Apple computer, as many vintage keyboards as I could fit into one room, and a kettle. "I'd come by in the morning," she told Billboard, and Stuart would answer the door in his stocking feet, as he'd been up all night. I'd bring him a coffee and say, "Stuart, your house is a mess. There's no food in the cupboard." Then I'd call someone from my house to bring food over for him, and then we'd work all day. Nothing sums up this domestic scene better than an interview Stuart Price did with Pop Justice. She's the perfect guest, but she did spill coffee on my white carpet by knocking a mug off a keyboard. I was amazed at just how well, using only a kitchen towel, she could draw the coffee out of the white carpet. The technique she had was to never rub, just to gently pad the carpet with the kitchen towel. Perhaps it's unsurprising that working as she did in the early 80s led to the music of the time beginning to appear in her new music. Abba certainly, but also the Bee Gees, who Madonna would pay homage to in the Confessions tour, as well as the work of Cerrone and the collaborations between Giorgio Moroder and Donna Summer. Madonna wanted her songs to also work on the modern dance floor. At his DJing gigs, Stuart would play dub versions of the tracks they were working on, filming the reactions of the crowd as they heard these tracks without knowing who they were by. After Hung Up, the next songs to come together were Sorry and Future Lovers, the only Merway track that made it onto the final album. If you want to know more about Sorry, why Madonna hated it and why she was totally wrong to do so, then I've made an exclusive video for members of this channel. Check it out. They also returned to a song Madonna had written at a sound rehearsal, I Love New York. The song began life as a rocker, appearing in that form on the soundtrack to I'm Going to Tell You a Secret. Madonna told Attitude the song had been inspired by getting an over-the-top and dramatic police escort to her rehearsal at Madison Square Gardens. It quickly adapted itself, however, to the Confessions project as another tribute to her youth in the disco clubs of the Big Apple. Jump continues this theme. It's almost an advice song to the young Madonna, telling her to leave Michigan and take a leap into the big city. We also hear Price's influences on this track, with a synth line paying tribute to one of his favourite songs, West End Girls by the Pet Shop Boys, who, of course, would end up remixing the track Sorry. Madonna seemed surprised when The Guardian heard references to her previous records in the album, but they are there for anyone looking for them. Hung Up, of course, repeats lyrics from Love Song, while Forbidden Love shares its name with a track from Bedtime Stories. Lyrical themes remain from American life. Let It Will Be is a sequel of sorts to that album's title track, where she comes to term with the fame that was making her so uncomfortable on her previous album. Final track, Like It or Not, joins the canon of Madonna songs that act as statements of purpose for the singer. This is who I am, you can like it or not, fits perfectly with the for haters message of tracks like Human Nature and Don't Tell Me. However, now there is more of a sense of doubt over her work and its legacy, like when she asks, in How High? Confessions on the Dance Floor, however, would be the album that cemented her legacy into the 2000s. Reviews were ecstatic, with 5 stars in The Observer, a 9 out of 10 in NME, and 4 stars from Entertainment Weekly, The Guardian, Q and Mojo, among many others. Slant magazine's review, for me, sums up the most important thing that it showed about Madonna's legacy, that she was one of the few pop singers whose albums are best appreciated in their entirety and not lopped off into hit singles. Hung Up showed she could still have number ones like Britney or Christina, but Confessions showed she could also make cohesive albums that matched her 80s contemporaries' efforts from 2005, like Bruce Springsteen's Devils and Dust or Kate Bush's Ariel. When working on Ray of Light, Madonna had said, "I like to work with people who take chances. Usually they're undiscovered because once people are successful, they don't like taking risks." This was arguably true of her collaborators for her next album, Hard Candy. On this 2008 LP, she collaborates with the biggest names of the moment from hip-hop, like Timbaland, The Neptunes and Justin Timberlake. Removed from the context of 2008, I think it's a great album. Though even I, as a huge Madonna fan, don't need to hear her singing things like "See my booty get down like." It's one of her albums that I play from beginning to end the most. It has another of her great Mission songs in Give It To Me. Give it to me. Yeah. Miles Away is one of her most underrated ballads. I hear it in your voice, you're miles away. And I love how She's Not Me uses infidelity as an excuse to knock down all the pretenders to her pop crown. The album was reasonably successful, with lead single 4 Minutes reaching number 1 in the UK, meaning I will be doing a video about it someday. But the general sense was that the wheels were coming off the Madonna project a little, with the now 50-year-old chasing trends rather than following them. After all, she was not even the first female singer to make albums with Timbaland and the Neptunes, with Gwen Stefani and Nelly Furtado beating her to it. She also narrowly avoided her biggest controversy yet by nearly blacking up for the cover art, but that's a story for another day. Rolling Stone summed up the criticism. On Hard Candy, she lets top-shelf producers make her their plaything, rather than the other way round. For many then, Confessions on the Dance Floor is the last great Madonna album, and Stuart Price unintentionally pinpointed why. In a world where most pop records are made by a collection of producers, you get an inconsistency. Madonna seemed to forget this by decade's end. Inconsistency would certainly be the word for Madonna's 2010s output, with too many cooks turning tracks like Bitch I'm Madonna into a sonic soup. And with her Rebel Heart album totally lacking the cohesiveness of her 90s and 2000s work. She still had incredible tracks ahead of her. Diplo was right when he said that Ghost Town would have been number 1 for any other artist. But getting the wider public to care would become harder and harder. I'm releasing this at the last moment before the world gets to hear Confessions 2 in full. You're probably watching this from the future where you know how good the album is, and I'm very jealous to know whether she pulled the trick off again. Certainly the signs are good. Stuart Price has gone from strength to strength since Confessions, becoming a go-to producer for female artists wanting to make premium dance pop, leading to acclaimed credits with Kylie Minogue, Jessie Ware and Dua Lipa, and 2 nominations for the Mercury Prize. He even got to make 3 albums with childhood heroes the Pet Shop Boys. Madonna turned up on the remix album to Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia, bringing Price's production career full circle and highlighting the debt that our current generation of pop icons owe to Madonna. In a world where Kylie Minogue managed to get a number 1 single in 2025, I hold out hope that Madonna has one more smash hit in her before she hangs up her leotard. If it never comes, however, we'll always have Hung Up, a song that brought dance pop back into the singles chart and paved the way for countless pop divas in waiting to make their own confessions on the dance floor. Thank you for watching this video. If you got all the way to the end, leave a disco ball in the comments and let me know your favourite ever Madonna song. Mine is Human Nature. If Sorry is among your favourites, then you're in luck. I've done a bonus video on that track for members to this channel. You can find it here or over on my Patreon, where you'll also get all my videos a week early, as well as lots of bonus 2000s fun. Join us next month on this channel for our next video. Here's 3 words to hint at what it's about. Uncanny Britney Spears. And while you're waiting, check out our other videos in this series, including our PVC-clad guide to the sexy sounds of Just a Little by Liberty X, and the ring-ding-dinging guide to Crazy Frog. See you next time.